The moment you feel reality starting to blur, it starts subtly, a strange shimmer around the edges of ordinary life. You walk into a room you've been in 1,000 times, but something feels off. Not wrong, just different. Like you've entered a dream wearing your waking clothes. This isn't dissociation. It's not spacing out. It's a timeline softening. Reality doesn't always shift with thunder. Sometimes it wavers like heat above the pavement, visible only when you slow down enough to notice. And in those moments, your consciousness expands just enough to glimpse what's behind the curtain. You may start forgetting what day it is. You may feel conversations looping. You may wake up wondering if this is the right version of your life or just the one you've been defaulting to. This blur is not a glitch. It's an invitation. You're being shown that solidity is an illusion, that the world around you is far more fluid, and your perception is the hand that stirs it. When you begin feeling like life is vibrating just beneath the surface, like your steps are echoing into places you can't name, don't panic. You're not losing your grip. You're regaining your power. All right, let's dive in. We'd love it if you could subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Why you suddenly question everything you chose. There comes a moment, often quiet, sometimes terrifying, when your choices stop feeling like yours. You look around at your job, your home, your relationships, your daily habits, and a voice deep within whispers, "Was this ever what I wanted?" This isn't self-sabotage. This is awakening. When a second timeline opens, the frequency of possibility intensifies. You're no longer held hostage by the momentum of past decisions. The gap between who you've been and who you could be becomes too obvious to ignore. It can feel disorienting, maybe even unfair. You worked so hard for this life. Why now? Because your soul knows. It senses the window, the split, the rare moment when rewriting becomes easier than reinforcing the old script. And that window only opens when you're ready to question the original blueprint. This questioning isn't regression. It's expansion. It's not that your old choices were wrong, they simply led you to this doorway. So if you find yourself suddenly unsure, take heart. It means your soul is alive. And it's whispering, "We can choose again." Signs you're already walking the alternate timeline. Sometimes you don't jump timelines. You drift into them. You wake up one day and the world feels familiar, but wider, lighter. The people around you react differently. Your usual worries don't stick as tightly. You notice synchronicities stacking like dominoes. The same number, the same symbol, the same phrase in 3 conversations. You think it's coincidence until it keeps happening. This is one of the clearest signs that you're already walking the alternate timeline. The reality you've been vibrationally calling in has finally caught up with your frequency. You may notice long-held blocks dissolving without struggle, random opportunities showing up with eerie precision, a strange sense of déjà vu about things that haven't happened yet. What's important is not to overthink it, but to notice it, ground into it, own it. You're not the same version of you who made those old plans. And that's the point. You've stepped into a different corridor of possibility, and the new reality is already building itself around your vibration. You can't unsee the version of you that just showed up. You glimpse them in the mirror, in a dream, in a flash during meditation or a quiet walk. It's you but upgraded, clearer, radiant, aligned. The version of yourself you've been secretly becoming. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. This moment is pivotal. It's not imagination, it's transmission. That version of you is not some distant fantasy. It's a real, encoded possibility reaching back to anchor into the present. You might feel overwhelmed. How could I ever become that? But that's the illusion that this vision is out there. In truth, it's already inside you, waiting for space to emerge. That version of you isn't asking to be worshipped, it's asking to be embodied. You don't have to know the full how. You just have to say, "I'm willing." Once you catch a glimpse of your aligned self, your old patterns won't feel the same. The life that tolerated them has already started collapsing. This is the cost of clarity and the beginning of everything. The shift begins in your smallest decisions. Big changes never announce themselves with fireworks. They begin in whispers. It starts when you say no to something you used to tolerate, when you reach for water instead of numbing out, when you choose silence instead of explaining yourself again, when you finally close the tab, cancel the subscription, unfollow the echo. These micro-decisions seem harmless, irrelevant even. But in spiritual terms, they're everything. Each small choice is a vote, a signal, a quantum nudge. And when a second timeline becomes available, your soul doesn't wait for grand gestures. It starts reprogramming your behavior at the roots. The alternate you, the one you felt flicker through your body last week, is watching how you choose in the in-between, not at the crossroads but in the kitchen. Not during the breakthrough, but in the boredom. Every time you choose what aligns, what feels lighter, clearer, cleaner, you say, I'm ready for that timeline. The shift isn't dramatic, but it is deliberate. And it begins when you treat your smallest decisions like they matter, because they do when the people around you start to feel misaligned. There's a moment when you look around at your circle and realize you don't quite belong here anymore. Not because you're better, not because they're wrong, but because the frequency you use to meet them at has shifted. You're no longer interested in the same conversations. You can't fake laughter at the same old drama. You feel tired not because you're antisocial, but because your energy can no longer stretch into places it's outgrown. This can be lonely, confusing, even guilt-inducing, but it's also confirmation your vibration has moved. And with that movement, certain people start falling out of resonance, not as punishment, but as process. Some relationships will evolve, some will gently fade, some might leave abruptly and painfully, but all of it is sacred. You're not abandoning people. You're choosing a reality where your light isn't dimmed to keep others comfortable. When people start to feel misaligned, don't rush to fix it. Sit with it, honor what was, and trust what's calling you forward. You begin to remember a future you never lived. It's a strange sensation, like déjà vu from a life you haven't lived yet. You suddenly remember scenes, places, versions of yourself that feel as real as any memory, but there's no record of them. You've never been there, but you know the scent in the air. You've never done that thing, but your body feels the muscle memory. This is more than imagination. This is a future timeline bleeding into the now. In the quantum field, all potential versions of you already exist. When a second timeline opens, it doesn't just present new paths, it reminds you of paths you once dreamed and discarded, or never dared to believe were real. The version of you who became an artist, the version who moved to that one city, the one who healed, who loved freely, who trusted life. Suddenly, those timelines don't feel fictional. They feel accessible. This remembering isn't madness, it's invitation. Your soul is showing you the map. You could follow if you stop telling the same story over and over again. Pay attention to what future keeps knocking. It might not be fantasy. It might be familiar. Synchronicities. Speed up right before the split finalizes. At first, it's one or two things. A clock that always reads 11:11. A name you keep seeing. A song playing in places it shouldn't. Then it builds. You see repeating numbers constantly. Strangers echo your private thoughts. Objects show up that match your exact inner question. And then it clicks. Something's accelerating. This isn't random. This is resonance. Synchronicity is the language of alignment. When a second timeline becomes available and you're close to choosing it, fully the universe starts flashing confirmation signals like a neon sign. Yes, keep going. This way. The closer you get to locking in that reality, the more the field responds. Why? Because your belief is stabilizing. Your frequency is becoming coherent, and reality wants to match it before the window closes. These synchronicities aren't just fun or cute. They're the prelude to collapse, the beautiful kind. The kind where the old timeline loses gravitational pull. So don't just notice the signs. Respond. That's how you finalize the shift. The urge to burn the old life without knowing what's next. It comes suddenly. The job that once felt secure now feels suffocating. The routines that used to bring comfort start tasting like ash. The identity you've clung to for years begins to feel like someone else's skin. And in the space between fear and freedom, something rises. I need to let it all go. This urge isn't chaos, it's clarity. When a second timeline opens, your soul recognizes what doesn't fit even before your mind does. And that recognition can feel violent, urgent, like a fire that doesn't ask for permission. You might not have a backup plan. You might not know where this leads. But still you feel the burn in your bones. This can't be my life anymore. This is not self-destruction. This is sacred destruction. It's the clearing of outdated timelines, of old contracts, of lies you no longer have the energy to maintain. If you feel the call to walk away from what once defined you, even without a clear next step, trust it. Some doors only appear after the fire has passed through. Moments that feel scripted are clues you're tuning in. You say something and the other person says, I was just thinking that. You open a book and read the exact sentence you needed. A scene unfolds so perfectly timed it feels like it was written. You laugh, shake your head, tell yourself, that was too weird. But what if it wasn't? What if those scripted moments are not coincidences but confirmations? When you tune in to your aligned timeline, reality starts communicating differently. Everything tightens, becomes more elegant, more intentional. Time feels like choreography instead of chaos. It's not that life becomes perfect, it becomes precise. These moments are not glitches. They're echoes, signals, like someone behind the scenes is subtly nudging the script, and you're finally reading your lines in real time. The more you recognize these moments, the more they multiply. Why? Because your attention is the ignition, and your awe is the consent. This is what it feels like to be inside the story that's meant for you. You no longer need permission to change everything. There comes a point where asking stops. You no longer seek approval, validation, or explanation. You simply move. Not recklessly, but sovereignly. Not in rebellion, but in truth. This is one of the final signs you've crossed into the second timeline. The need for permission dissolves. You stop asking if it's okay to choose yourself. You stop waiting for signs that it's time. You stop negotiating with the old version of you that required someone else's blessing to evolve. And this doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. You're no longer molding your path to fit someone else's idea of who you should be. You're shaping your reality from within, and that is terrifying to those still outsourcing their worth. But here's the secret. You never needed permission. You just needed remembrance. And now that you remember, nothing can hold you back but habit. So choose boldly, act freely, speak fully. This version of you answers to your soul, and that's enough. Tomorrow is already written unless you choose again today. If you do nothing, tomorrow will look a lot like today, and the day after, and the year after that, because energy left unchecked follows the path of least resistance. It loops, it copies, it repeats. But the moment you choose differently, even slightly, you fracture the pattern. You collapse the script. You tell the universe, this story is not inevitable. Today is not just a placeholder, it is the keyboard, the steering wheel, the spellbook. And that quiet tug you feel right now? That's your higher self whispering, there's still time. Time to disrupt the momentum. Time to step off the ride. Time to grab the pen and write a different ending. A second timeline exists. It's not a fantasy, it's a frequency. But it won't wait forever. So the real question is, will you live the version of your life that already has a conclusion? Or will you choose again today? Before we end, I have one request for you. In the comments, write down the version of your ideal self you want to become. There's a saying, when you give your dreams words, they start becoming real. And when you write them as if they've already come true, the universe listens even more powerfully. So go ahead, leave a comment about your dream life, written in the past tense, as if it already happened. The universe is always ready to hear your desires and bring them into form. Let your words flow into the comment section and send your vision out into the universe. And don't forget, when you see someone else's dream, celebrate it. By lifting each other up, the energy multiplies. From the bottom of my heart, I'm wishing for all your dreams to come true. Thank you so much for watching till the end. If you felt something today, please subscribe, give a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. I started this channel from Japan, hoping to help people around the world live better lives. My English might be a bit rough, but I hope you'll stay with me on this journey. This channel shares videos that help you understand how to live in the age of air just by listening. Subscribe so the next message finds you automatically. Thank you.